This is how we begin a typical speed agility session at University of Vermont. Currently, the guys in this video we're lifting total body lifts Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we're utilizing Tuesdays and Thursdays. We had a period of about an hour in which to just solely devote to speed agility, deceleration, uh, cutting and running mechanics, things of that nature. So anytime I have extra time, I like to, at the beginning of the session, let the guys foam roll and do some soft tissue work. A lot of times it's tough. You're scrapped for time. Teams come late from practice, or they have to get to practice, or guys have class, or maybe I have another team afterward. But any chance I get, to have 5 minutes to allow the guys to work on tissue quality, I think it's important. Any trigger points guys might have from training, that's accumulated over time, or the days prior, can be worked out. I mean, I think it's important to inhibit those overactive muscles, to teach the guys how to kind of search for those things and and work on problem areas that might be different for every guy. In hopes to not only increase performance by increasing the ability of the uh, muscle to lengthen properly, but also maybe to prevent some injuries or some tears or pulls or things like that down the line. Uh, I used to not do foam rolling because I feel like uh, a lot of conversation going on, but sometimes I question the frame of mind that it gets the guys in as soon as they're in the weight room. I normally like to separate work and play by the front door. Outside they can be laughing, joking, talking about school, whatever. But as soon as they enter the weight room, it's time to go to work. But if I have a good team like this team, that's really strong group of guys, hard workers, great kids, I don't mind coming in and allowing them to have the benefit of at least 5 minutes just to kind of work through any of those issues they might have. Here we teach them basically, we have lacrosse balls, tennis balls, softballs, a bunch of different things. Start with the bottom of their feet, they have their shoes off, work that plantar fascia, work up to the calf, work the hamstring, IT band, and any areas they feel need to be worked on individually and might help them. And then we, move right into our next section of the warm up for the speed and agility warm up, which would be our dynamic flex. After our soft tissue work, we move into our dynamic flex portion of the warm up. I talked with our guys about important of mobility and flexibility and maintaining that throughout the season, especially in sports such as soccer, where just the mileage they cover day in and day out kind of uh, takes away some of that mobility, in the hamstrings and in the hips and things like that. So I joke around with them like, look, don't take this just as a warm up. This is more than a warm up. This is speed training. If you want to be fast, you have to be mobile around the hip. So we do a lot of work with this type of stuff. Um, Teaching the guys how important it is to contract the quad, like in this exercise, to allow that hamstring to relax. Let the brain know it's okay for the hamstring to fully lengthen. And over time, we can definitely make changes in that. I think watching this film, you'll notice a few guys are definitely need some more work on it. So it's something that we put as a priority throughout the off season. Definitely going into the off season. Um, I mean, the off season as in summertime when the guys won't be here, because a lot of times the guys will have a tendency to go and do all the lifting and maybe do some of the speed work and the running, but they won't focus a lot on flexibility and mobility, which is very important. I think this type of stuff is very technical. Well, it's like I said, it's really easy for people to just go through the motions. So I like to constantly go around, one at a time, try to get to as many guys as I can, making sure they're focusing on the details, keeping their legs straight, not rushing it. As you can see, I got a couple interns that are going around correcting guys to make sure that it's more about the quality than really the quality, or the quality rather than the quantity of what they're doing here. When we're doing the dynamic flex, we're trying to just work multiplanar, get all different planes of motion, hit majority of the muscle groups and joints that need work, most notably the hips. The hamstrings tend to be pretty tight. Here we're doing what I call an iron cross to groin, which is basically your typical iron cross movement, which will stretch out the hip, the IT band, but then we go out to the outside where they try to keep their opposite hip on the ground, and it really gets an active stretch into their groin where they have to control their leg, stop, pull it back up. So it's not so much of a static stretch as it is more of a dynamic thing, which will help carry over into the speed work that we're doing. The key is constantly going by and reminding the guys the importance of the little things. It's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. And especially with this stuff, if you just allow your guys to go through the motions, it's not going to carry over. As you can see here, I think this is maybe the third or fourth guy I've already went over to, coached up the same thing. Hey, keep that opposite hip down when you drop that leg to the outside. That's how you're going to get the most effective stretch. And to be honest, they've heard me say that probably 15 times already. So you can see how it's important to constantly stay on them, just to make sure they're getting out of it what they should. Here we've turned over. They're on their stomachs now, and now we're doing what we call a knee to armpit with leg extension. So it's kind of like an army crawl. Tell the guys to pretend they're crawling under barbed wire, keeping their hips flat, keeping their chest flat. Drive their knee up under their armpit, push it for a second into the ground so you get a little bit of an active stretch with that groin, and then at the same time you try to extend that leg out straight and flex your quad hard before that leg comes down. Very good for hip range of motion. I've seen pretty good results with this, and I'd like to think there's a lot of carryover to sprinting agility that we're about to do. This next movement is what I call a wounded warrior. Basically, they're going to push up position. They're going to kick one leg through, kick it across their body, drop their chest to the ground while trying to keep both legs straight. If you do this right, it's real effective for your hip IT band. Loosens up the lower lumbar a little bit. Again, I'm going around constantly telling the guys to keep their legs straight, flex their quads, breathe out when they're at the bottom. Remember, you don't want to increase tension while you're trying to do any sort of stretching or dynamic flex. You're trying to decrease tension. You don't want to fight your own body. All these cues will help them kind of learn and hopefully take that away so it's drilled in their head when they're not with you over the summer, and they can continue to progress throughout the off season. Here we see what we call rollovers, called three-way rollovers. Basically, guys are going to roll over with their hands above their head, protect their neck, and they're going to try to straighten their legs out and touch the ground over their head on the back part of the roll. And as they come forward, they're going to use that momentum that they gained during that roll to get an active or a dynamic stretch of the groin and the hamstrings in 3 different directions. Right here, you can see me really trying to coach some of the guys to get their legs straight over as they go over their head. Touching the ground is not as important as actually trying to flex your quads and try to loosen up those hamstrings as they come over. But if the guys get it, they can keep those legs straight and try to get all the way to the ground.